there's a fun topic, cremation.
Oh, I'm not gonna. We talked about this.
I know we talked about it. I just want to.
I'm not gonna be burned up, okay? I don't. How would you like it if somebody set you on fire? No, thank you.
Well, it's not like they light you, you know.
I don't like camping, and I don't like fires, and I don't want to be personally lit on fire. I want to be frozen. Do they have that as an option?
How you doing, Sacramento? Woo! We got our New York City boy in the house. You're not too good for us now, are you?
I'm glad that you're moving home for a bit. Your mom's gonna need a lot of help.
Don't look at us. We're drug addicts.
I thought you didn't want to try medical marijuana.
Well, I tried it. Isn't this dress pretty?
It is. I feel like it's too subtle.
You know, your mother was supposed to be born dead, so she's still very, very lucky.
Oh, Grandpa.
Ask her doctor. I mean, he's dead, but if he wasn't, you could. He hung himself.
That's true.
I read your letter.
Please put Dono outside. I can't stand to see him licking his penis.
Dono, no, stop it.
One by one.
Does anybody have any questions about what's going on with Mom?
And I still love you.
When I die, you gotta live your life. Except you can't date anyone for a year. And you can't date that slut who came to the door today.
When it's all said and done.
I wish we could just travel the whole world real quick so you could just see everything.
I get to see my whole world at dinner tonight. All I ever wanted was to be a mother.
And oh, my darling.
I thought when your mom dies, you get that beautiful revelation about life.
So blue.
And just everything becomes clear.
'Cause nothing.
It all just feels like something that happens to other people.
Oh, but nothing takes the place of you.
Yeah, well, no, you're other people to other people.
Remember that wand that I bought on the internet? I looked it up, and it doesn't cure cancer.
Wow.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for being here.
Congratulations on a
Thank
beautiful
you.
film, on a
Oh,
beautiful
thank you.
first film. It's absolutely wonderful. You did an amazing job.
Oh my God, thank you. That's so nice.
My first question is, what brought you to casting our national treasure, Molly Shannon?
Well, that's why, sort of. I mean, like.
Who I think I'm gonna add one more compliment to the
Great.
mix on that. I feel like with this movie, it's consistently defining you as a person that always has more to show, always has stuff that's untapped. It's really incredible what you can do and what you do in this film.
I mean, yeah, she is. It's so we're talking about you as if you're not here. She's incredible in this. But like, no, it was sort of a no-brainer when I wrote the movie. I didn't really even like expect for it to get made. But then once we were like, oh, we're gonna try to really do this. Like the first name I thought of was Molly Shannon, just because, you know, obviously I think she's hilarious and she was great on Saturday Night Live. But I think most people, you've done dramatic work, but I think most people like first and foremost think of you as a comedic actor, which she is. But she's so good, and all of your work with Mike White is incredible, and I've just been a fan for so long, and that was like, I gave Molly Shannon as like an example of a type, because I didn't think that maybe we could get her, or she'd want to do it. And then when she read it, and then when she called me and was like, I'll do it, I thought the phone call was gonna have to be me like subtly convincing her for hours, and I was like figuring out how to do that, and she was like on board, and it was so lovely.
There was no convincing at all, and then you kept trying to convince and convince.
just had like
No
a very
convincing. I read the script, and the script was so beautiful and so touching, and I just closed it and called Chris, and I just felt so lucky to be offered such an amazing role. And then I was so excited that I went, I told the story
I love it,
before.
though.
I was so excited about the script that I then went running. I listened to this Miley Cyrus song called We Can't Stop, and I would just think about the movie, and I was like, this is so good, and I keep like thinking about it, and running and replaying the song. That's how excited I was.
I love that. Like that song is always connected to the movie now for you.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't that song also connected to you as well, though? Didn't you write an SNL parody with that song?
I didn't write
me.
it, but yeah, we did a parody of that song on the show on SNL.
That's immediately what I thought of when you said it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, there's a weird connection there for you guys. But
love it.
sorry, Molly, continue.
Yeah, it really just took my breath away. And I think I was so excited that that's why I had to run myself around my block several times like a dog that needed to calm down.
I mean, I could see the first scene of this film is an incredible scene on the page. I could see getting a script like that and getting that scene with the joke of the answering machine coming in after this sort of the weeping sadness of the actual death. It's like it's a perfectly written scene that I could see people immediately responding to.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Yeah, the first scene opens.
It's not really
Yeah,
a question
I guess,
for you.
Great question. I mean, I like the question. No, I mean, yeah, the first scene it opens with the mother of the family has passed away, and I wanted to start that way because I didn't want the movie to be about will she or won't she. I wanted it to be like she does. She unfortunately does pass away, and then what do the characters do? We rewind back and we see like what do you have to do? What do you do when you fill the time? Like, how do you make the most of it? Because it's like a loosely autobiographical film, and I remember feeling that way in real life, being like, when we knew our mother wasn't going to make it, you're like, oh, what do we do? How do we make the most of every day? And so I wanted to start just kind of like very starkly and be like, this is what happens. But then, yeah, halfway through, there's sort of like a comedic rug pull. Hopefully sort of as a way to like teach the audience what the tone was going to be for the rest of the movie, that you could kind of expect this sort of like brutal sadness, but then like comedy as well. Yeah.
How difficult was it writing something loosely autobiographical? Because obviously life doesn't come with the kind of drama that is necessary for a script sometimes, at least in terms of how it plays out.
Yeah.
So you have to adjust characters and you have to adjust people in your life to sort of fit a story that you're trying to tell in 90 minutes. Was that difficult for you? Was it difficult for any of your family members?
Yeah, I mean, that was tricky because I always say loosely autobiographical, but then when I watch it, I mean, there's like full scenes that are invented and like characters don't act the same way that the real people act. So like I don't watch the movie and think like that's my sister or that's my dad in any way. So it's more like you have to like, as a writer, you have to like think about like, you can tell it verbatim, but that's just gonna feel like a journal entry, a series of journal entries on screen. So the way it's autobiographical is I would remember like specific sentences that my mother said verbatim that really stuck with me, or I would think about like real things that I remember like thinking and feeling during that time, and then I would invent scenes around it. So like the scenes around the real line my mom said might be fake, but they feel true-ish because they're like in service of, extrapolating on this like real line, if that makes sense. So it's so weird. And like, yeah, when my family sees it, they'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then there'll be like 40 minutes of the movie where they're like, what is this? Like we didn't, And part of it is because like I had a different experience than they had. So like they just didn't know all that I was going through. And if they made their movie of this, there'd be a lot that I wouldn't know. And then a lot of it is just like I made
Like I wonder, there's this element of the film where, I mean, your character, not your character, but the character in the movie, loosely based off of you, has this sort of ongoing tiff, for lack of a better word, with his siblings who he's not spending time with. Yeah. I'm wondering if that actually happened to you and if they felt that way, or did they see the movie and like most of the things that we write about ourselves that are kind of in the negative, they were like, no, we didn't feel that way about you. No, it's fine. That's how you viewed this situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we've talked about that specifically, but yeah, like one of the ideas about the movie that was interesting to me was like, it's the title, I guess, which is like Other People, the idea of like, I remember when my mom was sick, being very wrapped up in my own stress about it, being like, how is she gonna die? When is she gonna die? Like, how's it gonna affect me? Like, when she dies, like, and I go back to New York, like, is my career gonna be in shambles? And my boyfriend is like, blah, 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 and those worries are like valid, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that like I shouldn't have been thinking those things, but then you're also like, oh, if you turn to the left or the right, like there's a sister who's sad and there's a dad who's sad. And it's like, it was like interesting to try to, you have to remember that there's other people who are like hurting too, and like to step outside of yourself and like ask other people how they're doing. I don't think I was like a full piece of shit like during that time or anything like that. Like this movie isn't a way of being like crucifying my younger self or anything like that. But like I feel like there's seeds of it that are true. Like I could have done a better job at this, or like I don't know. It's such a weird, surreal thing to like write a version of yourself and then be like, what did I suck at? What were my shortcomings? Like what was I? I don't know. It's all so weird. I don't know.
Molly, how much did you base your character on his real life mother and stories that you had heard and stories from him, and how much for you was an interpretation of that person that she was?
I would say an interpretation, because I never had the pleasure of meeting Chris's mom, but I did speak to Chris's mom's best friend on the phone, and it really gave me a sense of her and her values and how she thought and what kind of a girlfriend she would be to her other mom friends. And I really got such a sense of her from those conversations, and then also Chris really helped me, and so a combo, I would say.
What do you think you were trying to bring to
I think about her a lot. Well, I read your blog. Chris wrote a beautiful blog. Is that what you think? Blog.
Is that the...
I'm not a computer
I love you asking me
person.
that here. Is that what this is called? A blog? The internet?
Well, was it written in 2005? Because I think it would be called that, actually.
I don't know what it was called.
It's not the right place.
Yeah, I
blog,
did.
or is it a website? No, I don't know. But
Yeah.
but I read that and I thought it was so beautiful, so I read that. And I think about her a lot, and I don't know, I just do. And I feel like it's so sweet, like doing the movie and promoting it and thinking about her, and I don't know, it's sweet.
Obviously, we've all sort of had experience with people.
But so I want to say one more thing. So I always think, I wish she was alive, because I wish we could like go hang out with her or something. Because I do feel like I've gotten to know her, and I wish she was here and stuff, because I wish I could have met her.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What do you think you were trying to bring to the sort of role, or in terms of showcase about her in the last year of her life? Because when it comes to the sort of deterioration that the disease causes, a lot of that is brought on by the sort of narrative itself. But what you bring as an actress, and I think what you bring is just sort of your persona and charisma, has a lot to do with the energy that a person still has at this period in their life.
Yeah.
So what were you trying to? Sorry, were you trying to bring that to the role of someone passing?
But you're trying to bring the energy of
energy and life, that she still has a lot of life left.
Oh, yes, that she was funny and smart and witty and quick, and just how much love she had, and how hard what she would do to fight for her children to have time. She was this full woman, this full, intelligent, funny, wise mother, wife, complicated, going through so much emotional stuff, funny stuff, sad stuff. It's complicated.
That's one of the things I like. Not to just complimenting you to your face, but one of the things I loved so much about Molly's performance in it, and I really wanted to capture in the script, is that like when you're going through something like this, and in my personal experience, it's not sadness 24/7. You know what I mean? Like you have like, for me, it was like about a year or so, and you don't as a family sit around every day and just say like, God, this is sad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you do it a little bit, and there's obviously, it comes in waves, and there's days that are terrible and, like, depressing, but then there's also days that are, like, funny, you know what I mean? And, like, weird, and my mom was, like, such a fighter and so funny and such a smart ass, and like kind of like lit up the room. And so there's scenes like that. Even there's like this kind of like horribly, one of my favorite scenes, because I love the acting so much in it, where the family went to like this burger joint to fill out end of life paperwork. And I remember the real experience of it was like the premise of that scene is so fucking brutal, because you're just like, oh, now we gotta like be like, do you want to be an organ donor? Or do you want to be cremated? And you're like, oh my God. But like, I remember there was like a weird lightness to it, because like my mom and dad were light, and my mom was like joking, and they were kind of like, you could just see like a love between them. And the scene is kind of a comedy, and then it is not. As the whole movie goes, it's like a comedy, and then all of a sudden it's not. But
we should compliment Bradley Whitford, who plays that scene extremely well. It's his sort of. It seems in that scene, your character is quite angry about having this conversation in the wake, and Bradley Whitford is sort of handling everybody in a very casual, lighthearted way.
Totally.
He performs that scene incredibly well.
He's truly incredible, and like is so funny and like warm, and like, I don't know, I've just always loved him. He's great. And in that scene, to watch him and watch Molly, who like truly within a minute has to go from like funny to like a little flirty, fighty to like joking to like angry to sad to resigned, is like very cool to get to watch. Like even just like, I mean, I'm not even saying that as like it's cool to watch as a director, but like just as a fan to watch actors be that good was cool.
Well, I have to ask you, you're a first-time director, right? Did you find that a lot of your work was already done in the writing? Because the writing is fantastic, and in a scene like that, where Molly has to go on a roller coaster ride of emotions, do you have that sort of pinpointed yourself in the writing, or how are you working with her to get to that place?
I don't know, like,
you definitely worked with me in that scene, because you were like, no, it's like this. I remember you were very specific with, kind of really knowing what it was. You really helped me with that scene a lot.
That's nice. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess there would be some scenes that thank you. I mean, I don't like there would be like some scenes that maybe like the final version is pretty close to the script, almost verbatim maybe, and then there would be some that'd be like a little looser. Like I think the fight that you have with Brad is kind of a little unscripted, and then also I was like, just you want your actors to feel like they're talking to each other and like overlapping and stuttering and like messing up the lines a little bit, because then it sounds like real people talking instead of like my line, then your line, then you know what I mean? So even if it wasn't like a huge like minutes of improvisation, even just the slightest little extra line or two just makes it feel like it's like a husband and wife really fighting with each other or really talking to each other. So that's what's in a lot of the movie, like little just loosening ups here and there, a little bits of improv. Or like there's like a scene where you get high for the first time on medical marijuana. Because my mom for like so long was like, I'm not going to try medical marijuana. I'm not a drug addict. I never will be. And then she did, and she like lost her damn mind. And so that was fun.
In a good way, she lost her mind.
In a good way. In a good way. They just like took too much. They put too much marijuana in the butter. And I think my sister was there. My sister was there and like knew they were putting too much, but she didn't want to let them know because then they'd be like, "Why do you know?" So she just like was she watched it happen and was like, "This is not gonna be good." And then they lost their minds, and my mom was like, I wasn't there. In the movie, I put myself into the scene, which is like, sorry, now I'm in the scene. But like in the real version, I wasn't there. And my mom had done medical marijuana with my dad. And my dad's like, I'll do it to support you. And my family's very conservative and like they'd never done this. And so they all like, I think took marijuana for the first time as like a beautiful family moment. And I wish I had been there. And I was in New York and I was like going underground to UCB to do a bunch of shows for the night. And I got a voicemail from my mom being like, Chris, it's your mom. I'm a drug addict now. I'm gonna do drugs. I do drugs, I love drugs, and I cannot wait to try these drugs. And was just very like sassy about like, this is who your mother is and I need you to know this. And I got the voicemail and I was like, ha ha ha. And then I went underground and when I came back out like 2 hours later, I had all these voicemails and they like perfectly tracked the progression of the like psychosis she was going through because she was like, here we go, I don't feel a thing. I guess I love drugs and they can't hurt me. And then she would call me and be like, I think something's wrong, Chris. This isn't good. And then she'd call me and she'd like, your dad isn't responding. He's just sitting there. He's like, his eyes are shut. His eyes are bloodshot. He has to go to the district office tomorrow and he has to like speak to people. And then another one that's like, we're gonna go to the emergency room. We're going to the emergency room. Like, and it was so funny, and it was so like, it was great. And so then I kind of put that in the movie, but like put me in the scene. But yeah, so like it's like the movie's like that. So it's not always just like grim, and hopefully there's a good balance of like comedy.
Well, there's a lot of humor in the movie. This is your first time directing, as we said. What did you find your greatest strengths as a director were?
Oh, so many. No, I don't know.
Let's do something that might be.
Gross. I don't know.
What was your greatest weakness that you were most afraid of going into it?
I was afraid that I didn't know enough technically. I was just worried that it was my first time as a director and everyone was secretly going to find me out because, my managers and agents were very lovely in being like, we think you should direct this. You wrote the script. You're so close to it. And I had directed shorts before, but I had never directed a feature. And so the very fact that they were even like pushing me to do it and like believed in me, I was like, I guess, I don't know why they think so. And the fact that producers wanted to make it, Adam and Naomi Scott were like, we'll make this with you. And the fact that so many actors that were so good signed on, I just felt very self-conscious. Like, I hope I don't like let them all down like on the first day.
Like someone's gonna catch you not knowing what a particular lens does, and it's all gonna be found out, kind of thing.
Truly, that they'd be like, Chris, what lens do you want on this? And then I'd be like, I quit. No, but it was
shallow. The short one.
No, but then you have to like remind yourself that like other people must have felt this way before directing a movie, and that like if there was something I didn't know, there were other things I did know, and so it was great. And also like you don't direct a movie alone, like no one does. Like my DP was great, and like my editor, and like the whole crew was just lovely. And so I got over that pretty quickly, which was nice.
Molly, were you at all nervous going into this movie with a first-time director taking on a role like this?
No, I was not at all.
Be honest. Pretend he's not here.
I'm telling the truth. Chris and I had coffee. No, he's such an amazing writer, and then we met and had coffee and talked for hours that first time. And I was not nervous in the least. I was very excited Chris was directing it. And Chris is very organized, and then just he's the greatest. He was like way ahead of everyone. Like you could ask him any question, and he's like, great. You can handle many things at once, which is a great skill, and you don't seem to ever get your feathers ruffled. So he's able to handle a lot and stay really calm and steady and know exactly what he wants. He is strong.
And that's kind of what. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, that's nice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what an actress needs in a situation like this, where you're going to the places that you're going to.
Yeah.
Were you nervous taking on this role at all? Were you worried about some of the scenes that you had to do?
Let me see here. No. I felt really more lucky. I was like, oh my God, this is such a great role, and I just really wanted to do a good job. And Chris would really guide me. He's like, he would help me. And I think the very last scene was really hard. There's a scene at the very end where I'm really weak and just feeling tired. And that was probably the hardest scene where I was like, God, I hope I'm okay. And Chris did really help me with that. But I've never played a scene like that where I'm so weak. And it was something I've never done in my life. Like, I've never experienced that. So I'm so glad that people like that scene, because that was the hardest scene. I was a little worried about that scene.
That makes me change my answer too, because I also was like worried about that, like, because there are like I come from a comedy world, like I've only ever like directed comedy or written comedy, and so there are scenes in this movie like that scene. There's a scene at the end, just mother and son. In the movie, it's like mostly one take. It's just like two people just talking to each other, and I was very nervous and just very conscientious of like, how do I make sure like the set feels comfortable, and like there's just like a lot of just like very somber, just like plays, like almost like little mini plays, and just like making sure that the set felt comfortable and like calm, and that the actors felt like they had what they needed. And because I just never worked in that environment or that space before.
What did you do to make the set feel calm, and
I
how
don't
did
know.
you approach
Hopefully
it?
I did. I mean, I think it was just like everyone had respect for the scene, and so it was weird because like on the call sheet there'd be like a day that was like, great, this is Molly getting high. This is going to be like a comedy show. This is great, and like the whole crew was like, this feels like watching a one-woman show. It was like so fun to just like watch her improvise and be. I wish we could just like show all the dailies. Like I wish that it'd be great. Yeah. And then you'd be like, what's on the call sheet tomorrow? Oh, nonstop sadness. And so it would just be like a conversation with the cast, and everyone knew that this was what the movie was. So it was just sort of like keeping the set quiet and like making sure there wasn't like unnecessary like crew right there in everyone's faces. Yeah, I don't know. My answer isn't like, get that damn crew out of there. You know what I mean? But just like everybody knew to like
Vinny the Grip isn't on his iPhone
no,
while
I didn't mean that,
Jesse Plemons is crying.
But just like everyone, I didn't have to do anything special just because everybody kind of like knew. Yeah, and just like asking them like what would be helpful for you. Like, do you want to like take this in bits? Do you want to run the whole thing from top to bottom? Like, but they were so good. I mean, that like there's like this last scene that's like 5 minutes long, and it's just basically one take all the way through because they're so good.
It's a beautiful one take. The scene between the two of them. I have to ask, both of you come from SNL. You're at SNL now, Molly. You had an incredible run at SNL. It's sort of a hackneyed question to ask, what's harder, comedy or drama? But you're in the situation of writing comedy all the time now. It can be kind of mathematical in the sense of how it works and the beats and the way that you plot it. Whereas drama, in many ways, is sort of an emotional minefield that you have to figure out as it goes. So I'm going to ask the hackneyed question: what is easier or harder for the two of you?
I don't know. What's harder for you?
Let's see. I think that they're both hard, but I think with my comedy, I was always kind of dramatic. I always played the emotional truth of the character, even with comedy. But I think that there's a lot of comedians that can do drama, but I don't think dramatic actors can always necessarily do comedy because they tend to be too cerebral about it. Like, I'm going to try to do comedy. And so much of it is letting go and being childlike and free and not overthinking it or being too cerebral. So that's my experience, that comedians can do drama more than the reverse.
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Shannon.
No, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I kind of agree. Like, I feel like not everybody, I guess, has like an ear or like a timing for comedy. But also in this movie, for me, it was hard to do like the dramatic stuff because I'd never done it before. And I was very like worried about like potential landmines because like, you want the movie to be about something, and you want it to have themes, and you want like the characters to learn or to like move in the direction of learning something, but you never want the audience to feel like, oh God, this is the scene where we like all learn the thing. You know what I mean? So like it was like hard and tricky to like find that tone of making sure that the movie like had meaning and that it got across the things I wanted it to get across, but in like a subtle way where you were sort of like almost like hiding them, like where you like hide medicine in candy or something for like, you know what I mean? Where it's like people like realize like when it's over that they've felt something or they've gone on the journey or they've seen the characters like awaken in some little way without ever feeling like they're being like taught. So that was like hard for me.
No one has like a big monologue in the movie that's like, life is filled with ups and downs. And
if anything, it's like characters. There's characters who say like, I want someone to give me this monologue, because like that's how I felt in the real version of it. Because I had grown up. I was gonna say I grew up watching cancer movies, which is so insane to say, but it is true. I would like watch Ordinary People on like a Saturday afternoon. But like I'd seen so many cancer movies.
Like, your tone and how you like hot Saturday afternoon.
Sorry guys, I can't hang out. I'm watching Ordinary. But also, like, no one was asking me to hang out.
Because they knew you were watching Ordinary People and were kind of a sad kid.
But I'd seen so many cancer movies, and I had seen so many. I thought I knew what to expect when I was going through this myself. So when my mom was dying, I felt very weird being like, ooh, like I'm in this like cancer movie now. That's the only thing I could relate it to. And I remember thinking like, when do I learn something? Like when does like a wise old woman come to me and tell me like, well, here's the lesson. And so like I feel like a lot of the movie is the character being like, when do I learn? Like what do I learn? Like is my mom gonna do it? Is it gonna come as a surprise? Like will my dad do it? And so that kind of frustration and like desperately wanting to be in that beautiful movie is like kind of what the movie's about a little bit, or it's in the movie at least a little bit.
That's interesting. Yeah. And Chris is so skilled at really, you know how you say you don't want to preach. You're really good at lightly touching where you want it to head without hitting it over the head, which is a real skill. Which is not an easy skill for a writer, but Chris does that so well. As a matter of fact, that's what Judd Apatow said, because his daughter Maud plays my daughter, and he came to a bunch of screenings, Sundance, and he was like, that is hard. He was like, the fact that Chris does that so delicately, like kind of, it creeps up on you and then hits you hard at the end. He was just saying, as a writer, the skill that Chris has in handling that so delicately is just a great skill.
That's very nice. I mean, but it's like the cast. It's like.
Want to respond to Judd Apatow's compliment, Chris?
Judd, I agree. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know. That's very nice. Judd has been truly like so nice about this movie, and it's crazy. But I think it comes down to the cast too. Like I think what you were saying. I think when you have like funny people and people who are like great at comedy, I feel like someone said this, and I've been saying it a lot recently, that comedians have a good like bullshit detector. You know what I mean? So they know if something feels like a little too dramatic or something feels like a little like this is a little over the top. Like they know to like resist the melodrama because they would be the first ones to like make fun of it, sort of. So the cast is so full of funny people. So there are scenes that are a little more dramatic, or people are talking about death and life, but like there's funny people giving the having the conversations, like John Early and Zach Woods and this great June Squibb, this great supporting cast who like are funny, come from a good improv background, have a good bullshit detector. So if something ever felt too like dramatic with a capital D, I would be like, please tell me. And sometimes they would, and it like made the movie that much better because of that, because it never felt hopefully like fakey, you know.
I agree. I don't think it felt fakey.
Oh, good.
I think that's what's so great about the movie, and that's what a lot of people say, is just how real it is. There's nothing fakey at all. It's very real and funny and real.
I'm going to turn it over to the audience for questions, and I'm going to beg for one of your questions to be about Jesse Plemons, who I've yet to bring up yet.
Yes.
I just want to mention, every time I hear the name Molly Shannon, I can't stop thinking the word superstar. I just can't. I guess
Clint Eastwood did an impression of last night, right?
Yes.
Clint Eastwood did Superstar last night.
I know. I can't believe it.
You hear what I'm saying? Clint Eastwood put his fingers in his armpits on live television.
It's unbelievable. It's so crazy.
It's great.
How flattering.
I have two questions. Being part of the SNL family, I was just wondering what's the most memorable skit you've been part of? And the second question is, how can I get SNL tickets? Because they're so damn hard to get.
Oh my God. Well, SNL tickets, I'm not sure. I think it's pretty hard. I think there's like a lottery. Even cast members only get like 2 every week or something. It's very limited because it's a pretty small audience, so not sure about that. But my favorite sketch was, I did a Mary Catherine Gallagher sketch to West Side Story where she desperately wants to be, and they never replay it because I think the rights to that music cost so much, but it is my favorite one, and I think it only aired once or twice. It could never replay, but it was, she wants to be Maria, and it was with Terry Hatcher, and I want to kick her out because I get a small part. And it was me and Will Ferrell, and it's like, make of our hand, like how desperately she wants the part. And it's beautiful and sad and tragic, and it has all the elements of just stuff that I like, drama with comedy and heart. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Next question.
Hey, Chris, congratulations on the movie and head writer. When did you know this was like a real career you could pursue?
Yeah.
Oh.
And what made you cast Jesse Plemons?
Oh, great.
Yeah.
2 very connected questions. Yeah. Great. I don't know, because when I was in high school and college and stuff, I loved my high school, and our high school drama teacher allowed us to like be in plays, and then like would let like people like me who maybe like clearly like, you know, we would do Romeo and Juliet, and like clearly I shouldn't be in Romeo and Juliet, but like she would let us experiment and like write our own plays and like write our own sketches. And she like, so I, from a very early age, I had like access to like trying new things, which was nice. And like in college, I started taking like improv classes, and I went to school at UC Irvine, and that was great. And I loved the college. And then on the weekends, I would like drive up and take classes at the Groundlings. And so high school and college was me like trying to figure out, I was like, I know I kind of want to perform or write, but I don't really know what I want to do. And then when I moved to New York and I started at UCB, that's like kind of when it clicked in, where I was like, oh, like sketch writing feels like comedy writing feels like a real thing that I might be good at. And then I started working at The Onion, and that was like my first job where I was like a writer and then a director. And I was like getting paid for work, like $10 a headline at first, but then more and more eventually. And like that was the first time where I was like, oh, I feel like maybe I could be good at this. And if I really work like 24 hours a day and like bust my ass, like maybe this would be like real. I don't know. But still, after every job, I'm always like, this is the last one. And then everyone's gonna gather in a room without me and be like, he's actually very bad and we don't want him anymore. Like I still think that was just so weird. But like I guess The Onion was like the first thing.
Do you think that, I don't think you're the only one that feels it. I think most people who have sort of like weird dream jobs, like in entertainment, always feel like at some point the rug is just gonna get pulled out from under them.
Right,
like
right,
everyone
right.
kind of feels like, I'm gonna do the wrong thing, and they're all gonna get in that room and be like,
yeah, when I got, me and my friend Sarah Schneider, we got promoted to head writer for this next coming season, and I remember, thank you, and I remember, that's why I mentioned, I wanted to, thank you, but I said to my boyfriend, I was like, I think this is good, because like, then maybe I will like be able to definitely, like have a career after this. And he was like, what are you talking about? But I still feel very like, okay, good, this will be helpful to like work next, you know what I mean? To like, get another job, but you still feel like, you just never know, because you don't, it's not like a real career where like, you get a job and then maybe you have the same job and you work your way up the ladder at that job for 40 years. You're always like hungry and trying to think about like what you're gonna do or create next. So I never feel like settled.
hopefully your widely celebrated movie that premiered at Sundance also helps you get the next job as well, Chris.
Truly, that is what I'm thinking. I'm not like being like fake humble or something, but it is that like weird mindset of like, okay, like what? Then also as a writer, like it's up to you often to like create it. So you're like, ooh, because people are always like, well, what now? And I'm like, oh, I gotta write another thing now. Like you're like, I thought I was gonna retire with billions off of this movie.
But that's why it's important too. I think that a lot of people feel that way in Hollywood, and I think I started to see, I'm like, oh wow, some of these people like at the top are always feeling like it's not enough, or they're waiting for their next thing, and I was like, you might as well just enjoy it, because people always feel that way. Yeah. And so I think it's so important to enjoy it and take it in, take the good stuff in when it is happening, because otherwise, what is it?
Yeah.
That's what I try to practice, because I think one can always have the feeling of not measuring up.
Yeah, yeah.
But it gets so tired. So I try to tell myself, you measure up.
But yeah, it's nice to know that like you're like the stress and the wonder of like what am I gonna do next never goes away, and like make peace with that and be like that's good, that like that's what makes you hungry, that's what makes you like want to keep creating things, but then also just know that's never gonna go away. So I'll just enjoy it while it's going. Yeah,
exactly.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hey.
Hi.
My name's Caitlin. My question is for you, Chris. It's kind of a two-parter to answer your call for a question about Jesse. What about Jesse spoke to you that he would be the right fit to kind of step into your story? And also, what spurred the idea to bring your story to life and share this with the world and decide that were you approached by someone that said, this could be cathartic for you, or did it just come organically?
Well, I'll answer the second part first, but I don't know. I had never written drama before, and I'd never written like a longer sustained narrative. So I wrote this the first summer after my first year at SNL, and I had just finished writing at SNL, and I also wrote for the first season of Broad City at the same time. So I was coming off of great stuff, but it was like hard comedy, and I wanted to write something that was like, I was just curious like what I would write if I wasn't like writing under the umbrella of a different show or a different voice. And I wanted to write something that was a little more tonally similar to like what I like to watch, and like something that's like a little hybrid of comedy and drama. And I kept trying to think of what I would write, and I kept thinking about this real time in my life, and then I kept trying to like not write about that, because I was just very self-conscious about like, do I want to write something that's like so personal? And obviously like this wouldn't be the first cancer movie, and like, the log line is like, you can kind of read it and be like, I've seen bits of this before, and I just kind of had to push all that aside and be like, I keep thinking about this time in my life, and like, there's things I want to say about it, and they say write what you know, and I was like, I don't know, it was meaningful to me to write about this. So I was like, I just got to shut out all the reasons not to do it and just do it. And also I wasn't like, no one was begging me to write it. So this was just going to be a writing sample. This was just going to be to see if I could do it. And then like it turned into an actual thing. And then Jesse was like actually the first actor who was like on board. Like he had gotten the script like a year and a half before we even made it and was like, I want to do this, and was like so supportive. And like his commitment to, because between him being like, I'm going to make this movie, he made so many other things and like always was like, I'm going to make time for this movie. And I think his like commitment to the movie like like really changed my life and like really made this movie happen. And like it would not have happened if he hadn't been like, I don't care, I'm making this other thing in the meantime, but like let me know, because like I will find time for this movie. And it like changed my life. And he is so good. That is insane that made me cry. And but from like Friday Night Lights and like Fargo and like Breaking Bad, every role he takes is like a direct 180 from the role before it. And he's so surprising. He's just like, he's like one of our great actors, I think. Like he is truly gonna work forever. He is so surprising. He is so interesting.
He's wildly captivating.
I'm just like drawn to him.
And he's the most generous performer. He's just the greatest to work with. He's so, he's just the greatest.
It felt very cool. It felt like I was directing the movie, but I felt like a fan that got to like come to set one day and like see how like actors work. It just like watch you do your scenes together. It was incredible. He's the best, yeah.
So he signed on very early on and got involved in the film, and then Molly signed on as well. How did you and Jesse work together? Did you sort of rehearse it all together? Did you meet up beforehand, or?
We did. We met up beforehand and had coffee and talked, and then we would just talk about the scenes. And he's just so present. He's such a good actor, so I think he's just so in the moment, and you just feel like he is that character, and he has such a big heart and so much compassion, and it was just really easy to act with him. He's filled with love. Yeah.
But also, it was like a tiny little indie movie, and we were like racing. So it wasn't like one of those movies where it's like we had rehearsals for months. Like you had met, and we'd had like a family dinner maybe the night before. But like the first day of shooting there's like the scene with mother and son like in bed, like in the middle of the movie, just talking, and it's pretty intense. And like we just did that on the first day, and like so it's only the actors. It was like their chemistry and their like talent that made it seem like they were family, like day one.
And I think your writing as well. Congratulations, guys, on the movie. It opens this weekend, right?
Yeah, it opens. So it opens in like select theaters this Friday. So it opens in like LA, New York, like, you know, places like that. If you want to go to like Other People Film on Facebook, it's in like maybe 10 or 15 cities. And we have like a bunch of fun Q&As. So there's Q&As with the cast in LA. There's Q&As with like me and SNL people and Broad City people and John Mulaney, like here in New York. And then it'll also be on like iTunes and video on demand. So if you don't live near one of those theaters, you can still see it.
Congratulations on incredible work. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys for being here. Thank you.